Chapter 1. The earth becomes fortunate. In the final chapter of Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrit, after the story of Kumar has been completed, Sanatan Goswami has quoted verses from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam which Parikshit Maharaj spoke to his mother Uttara. They are verses of very beautiful poetry which stimulate the sentiment of bhakti. Stringing these verses together, Sanatan Goswami has composed a necklace for the benefit of the sadhaks of this world, and when sadhaks keep these verses in their hearts, it is as if they are wearing this necklace around their necks. And if while taking Harinam they sometimes call out these verses, it will increase the anand in their chanting. This compilation of verses is known as Rasāyana, or the nectar tonic of Bhakti-rasa. When the material body becomes weakened by illness, and one is unable to eat anything, by drinking some tonic the digestion and the pulse again become strong. Similarly, in the realm of bhakti, for those in whom intense hankering for Raganuga has arisen, the verses in this final chapter are like nectar tonic. In the bhav of Manjari, Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed, Naha vande tava charanyor advanda he toha kumbhipakan gurum api hair narkan napne tum ramyaramamridut nulta nandane nabhirastu bhave bhave hriday bhavye bhavantam. Prabhu, I am not performing bhajana so that you will remove the worldly misery which is strangling me. I am not praying at your feet for entrance into the heavenly garden of Kanan where one can enjoy with beautiful women for a very long time, nor am I praying for liberation so that I will never again have to suffer for 9 months in the womb of a mother and never again be punished by the messengers of Yamraj. I pray that in the core of my heart you will increase the bhav of Vrindavan, where you are roaming with the gopis and enjoying amorous pastimes. In meditation on the descriptions of these pastimes, I will at once become completely lost in prema. This is what I am praying for. I am praying that I may take birth as a gopa or gopi, or even as a peacock or tree or anything, anywhere within the 64 square mile mandal. There I will acquire the company of a Rasika devotee, who being full of the bhav of Vrindavan, will describe all of these pastimes to me, and then my life will be meaningful. When sadhaks study and learn these verses, deeply meditating within themselves on their meanings while taking Harinam, they will act as stimuli to fully experience the bhav described in the verse above. Then one's mind will not wander here and there. We should not just walk around talking to others while chanting, but taking the mala we should sit in a solitary place and give it our mind and heart. Our previous acharyas chanted all night long, meditating on one shlok after another. For half an hour the waves of the bhav of one particular shlok would be coming to them, sometimes they would be fully submerged in those waves, sometimes they would rise to the surface and float on those waves, and then they would move on to the next shlok. As they did this more and more the whole night would pass, and where it went, they wouldn't know. This is the traditional method of bhajana. Through these verses Parikshit Maharaj is making the bhakti of his mother steady and strengthening her determination for Gopi Bhav, and through these same verses Sanatan Goswami is nurturing us. There is a blend of so many different bhavas in Vrindavan, but in the end, applying some polish to these sentiments, he emphasizes Gopi Bhav. There are many verses here, and they are all beneficial to the cultivation of bhajana. To develop and strengthen this bhav within us, we will study these verses in sequence, and from this endeavor intense hankering for this bhav will certainly arise within us. Dhanyayam adya dharni trinvirudhastvatpadasprisho latah karjabhimrishtah nadyodrayah mrigaah sadyavlokair gopyon taren bhujyor api sprihashriyah. Srimad Bhag 10.15.8 and Brihad Bhag 2 July 107. Shri Krishna said to Balram, today this land, along with all its green grass, has become fortunate due to receiving the touch of your lotus feet. And receiving the touch of the fingers of your lotus hands, the trees, creepers, and bushes consider that they have attained the greatest treasure. Receiving your affectionate glances, the rivers, mountains, birds, and animals are all feeling fully gratified. But most fortunate of all are the gopis who have been embraced to your strong chest, a favor which even Lakshmi Devi herself always desires. This verse describes the time when Krishna is at the junction of his Paugandalila, ages 6 to 10, and Kishore Leela, ages 10 to 16. At this time his full beauty and charm are becoming more apparent, and his limbs are filling up. He would feel shy if he were to remain naked at this age. Now he enjoys taking the cows out to graze, and jumping about and creating mischief with his friends. At this age his form is like a bud which is beginning to open. It has not yet become a flower, but it is gradually opening and becoming more charming. Previously no fragrance came from the bud, and no bee would have been hovering around it. But as it opens more and more, the fragrance begins to come, and there is nectar available to the bee. When it spreads out and becomes fully mature, it means that Krishna has reached the Kishore age. Now that Krishna and Baldeva have become a little older, their forms have become very charming. Their feet have also become bigger. Previously they were thin from heel to toe, but now like ripe bananas their feet have become big and very soft, and whereas before the soles of their feet had yellowish complexions, now they have begun to take on a reddish hue. Now Krishna has become a little clever in speaking. Instead of always speaking directly, he has learned to speak in a roundabout way. These are all symptoms of this age. His newfound cleverness in speech is evident in his speaking of this verse. To avoid praising himself, he uses the presence of Baldeva Prabhu as a pretext to express his feelings. Because at this age he has become a little intelligent, he realizes that he should never praise himself. Praising oneself is like committing suicide. Here he wants to describe how Vrindavan is more glorious than any place within the three worlds, and even more glorious than Vaikuntha. He begins by saying that the earth is fortunate. Why is the earth fortunate? Because of the presence of India. Why is India so glorious? Because of the presence of Vrindavan. And why is Vrindavan so glorious? Because of the presence of the Gopas and Gopis. Why are the Gopas and Gopis glorious? Because amongst them are Krishna and Radha. And why are they glorious? Because of the mutual prema between them, and that is our highest objective. If not for the amorous prema of Shri Radha and Krishna, then all of our endeavors would be meaningless. It is prayed for again and again by the topmost devotees, and Radha Prema is so glorious that it overpowers Krishna himself. But he doesn't describe all of this directly by saying, I am the supreme ornament which beautifies Vrindavan. Because he is now entering his Kishore age, when speaking he knows how to keep this bhav hidden and how to skillfully reveal it. Together Krishna and Balram are taking the cows out to graze, and upon seeing the beauty and splendor of the Vrindavan forest, at once Krishna becomes overwhelmed with emotion. What is the meaning of Vrindavan? It means the forest of Vrinda or Tulsi. There are many other wonderful trees and plants found there, but the Tulsi tree is primary. It can also mean the forest where Vrinda Devi is the queen. Why is she known as the queen of Vrindavan? Because she arranges amorous meetings between Sri Radha and Krishna. Another meaning of Vrinda is group, meaning groups of cows, Gopas and Gopis, and Avana can mean one who nourishes and protects. So Vrindavan can also mean the ones who provide stimuli which nurture and increase the prema in Sri Govinda and the cows, Gopas, and Gopis. More meanings have been given, but these three are primary. As Krishna was speaking this verse, he was remembering his own pastimes, and waves of bhav began to flow inside him. As he was going along with his friends, the Anand he felt knew no limits, and he said, "My dear brother, today Prithvi Devi, the earth, has become fortunate, and the hairs of her body, which are the grass, creepers, vines, and trees, are standing on end in ecstatic rapture. The grass, creepers, and vines, receiving the touch of your lotus feet, and the trees, being touched by your hands as you pick fruits and flowers, have today become fully gratified. And the rivers, mountains, birds, deer, and all other animals, receiving affectionate glances from you, have today become especially fortunate. But the most fortunate of all are the gopis, who have received what even Lakshmi Devi herself desires, being embraced between your two strong arms. From the very beginning of creation, Prithvi Devi has been serving Bhagwan. Whenever he desired to assume an incarnation, he would descend on this earth and grace the land with his footprints. Varaha held the earth on his snout, and at that time Prithvi Devi became his wife, and from them a son, Narkasur, was born. And the earth is always in contact with Bhagwan form of Shesh as he holds her on his head. From time immemorial she has been receiving such good opportunities, but Krishna tells Balram, today, by receiving the touch of your feet, the earth has become especially fortunate. Why? Because you are now at the junction of your Pogand and Kishore ages, and your lotus feet are especially soft, and such a nice fragrance is coming from them. You move along the earth like an intoxicated baby elephant. Has the earth ever received such an opportunity before? Today the earth has really become fortunate. Here someone may point out that at that time Krishna had been in contact with the Vrindavan forest for only 10.5 years, whereas Sri Ramchandra wandered in the forest of Dandakaranya for 14 years. In bare feet he also walked the entire distance to South India before entering Lanka. So did Prithvi Devi not become as fortunate then as she did during Krishna Leela? But Ram was banished to the forest, and when in the last year of his exile Ravan kidnapped Sita, he wandered here and there crying in anguish. Therefore at that time Prithvi Devi certainly became fortunate from the touch of his feet, but she must have also felt very sad. She really became fortunate when Krishna came in an immensely beautiful form. With a peacock feather in his crown he would smile as he was decorated by his mother in the morning, and then accompanied by Sridama and Subala and the other sakhas he would take the cows out to graze and jump about with the calves. Just as the young offspring of a deer playfully jump about, he would go along with all of his friends with a happy heart. Picking flowers with their own hands they would make garlands and decorate each other, and arriving at places like Kusuma Sarovara, Radhakund, and Shamkund, they would enjoy pastimes which were saturated with rasa. With special care Krishna would string one garland which was not meant for any of the sakhas, and feeling great happiness as he thought of whom he would place this garland on, he tucked it away. Who can estimate the great good fortune of those flowers, being picked and made into a garland by Krishna's own beautiful hands? When in the evening he would place that garland on a certain devotee, he would feel supremely blissful. Did any of this happen in Ramlila? There was constant heartbreak in Ramchandra pastimes, but in contrast in Krishna Leela there was so much carefree happiness. In the same way as we may caress one person whom we love and lovingly slap another, Bhagwan has touched the earth in different ways in his different incarnations. Ramchandra touched the earth, and Nrsimhadev also touched the earth. Assuming a fearful form, Nrsimhadev appeared, and being extremely angry he killed Hiranyakshipu. All of the residents of the heavenly and lower planetary systems were petrified with fear, and at that time the earth did not experience great Anand. But when Krishna touched the earth in such a beautiful form, she really became fortunate. The rivers, especially the Yamuna, also became fortunate. At that time Mansi Ganga was also a river, though now it is in the form of a kund, and it also became fortunate. He would lovingly glance towards the rivers, because there he would sport with the gopis and sakhas. The rivers would make a sweet sound as they flowed gently, and bees would be hovering around the blooming lotuses. The soft breeze would carry the fragrance, and the entire scene would be so beautiful. Through the bestowal of his affectionate glances, he would also shower the nectar of his kindness upon the hills and mountains, because near them were very attractive kunjas where there would be very beautiful grass, and on the pretext of taking the cows to graze he would go there. Sitting on the large rocks with his friends, they would decorate one another. These kunjas, such as the ones near Kusuma Sarovara, were very beautiful, and there he would enjoy with the gopis as well. This verse describes 4 benedictions: receiving Krishna affectionate glances, receiving the touch of his feet, receiving the touch of his hands, and being embraced by his arms as the gopis were. When Krishna would be taking the cows out to graze, from hidden positions the gopis would lovingly glance at him, and then he would glance towards them with such affection that it would immerse them in remembrance of his sweetness. In the same way he would glance towards the different birds and animals, and from this they also became fortunate. Sometimes a peacock, being maddened in bhav, would come near him, and he would gently stroke it with his hand. Sometimes he would call a parrot, and when it flew onto his hand, while stroking it gently he would teach it to speak and then listen to what the parrot said back. The calves would also receive the touch of his hands. Very young calves, perhaps only a few days old, forgetting the company of their mothers, they would jump along as they accompanied Krishna to the forest. As they proceeded further and further, they would become fatigued. So Krishna would take them on his lap and massage their legs, and with great prema he would speak sweet words to them. Tell me how much good fortune did those calves possess. He would also take the sakhas on his lap and stroke them, and in this way Subala and others received the touch of his hands. Considering the diverse sentiments of the residents of Vrindavan, he touches them in different ways. When Krishna takes the cows and his friends to drink from and sport in the rivers have one type of sentiment, and when he goes there with the gopis, they have a different type of bha. Receiving the touch of Krishna's feet, the rivers swell in Anand. The trees have the sentiment of sakhas, and they receive the touch of both his hands and feet. The cows have the sentiment of being his mother, and the calves have the sentiment of sakhas. The creepers have the bhav of sakhis, and when he picks flowers from them, it is as if he is teasing a gopi with his touch. The gopis also receive the touch of Krishna lotus feet. Yatte sujat charnamburuhan staneshu, bhitah shaneh priya dadhimhi karksheshu, tenatvim atsi tad vyattena keaisvit, kurpadibhir bhramti dhir ayushana. Srimad Bhag 10.21.19. O dear one, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that they will be harmed. Our life rests only in you, and therefore our minds are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest path. The gopis are arguing with their own minds. Their minds are saying to them, why are you worrying about Krishna? There is no necessity. But from deep within their hearts, from their very Atma, the gopis reply, we are upset because Krishna's feet are very soft, and we are afraid that they will be pricked by thorns and pebbles. We desire that he should never feel any pain. Is Krishna blind? He has eyes, doesn't he? He can see where to place his feet while walking. Hey mind, the calves run here and there, and do they only go to safe and smooth places? They run near the mountains, rivers, and jungles, and they also have hooves which protect them from sharp objects. But if Krishna goes to such places, his feet will be burned by the hot sand or pricked by thorns and pebbles. O mind, you have no intelligence. But in Vrindavan there are no such thorns and pebbles. Everything here is Vishuddha. They appear to be ordinary thorns, but it is as if they are made of rubber. Will rubber thorns prick your feet? They give a very soft touch to Krishna's tender feet when he steps on them. And the pebbles are softer than butter. By the influence of Vishuddha, Prithvi Devi has decorated her landscape with these soft and golden pebbles so Krishna will never feel any pain. In this way they were arguing with their minds. The gopis received the touch of those feet in the Raslila, a benediction which even Lakshmi Devi desires, and Brahma is also always meditating on those feet. Ahush siye te nabh padarvinda yogeshwarair hridi visintyam agadbodheh. Srimad Bhag 10.82.48. Such great storehouses of knowledge as Brahma, Shankar, the Kumaras, and Shukdev Goswami are always trying to remember Krishna lotus feet, but only with great difficulty do those feet appear in their meditation. Responding to Krishna teasing with jealous anger, the gopis say, you have instructed us to meditate, but realization of you rarely comes even in the meditation of the most highly learned devotees. We want you to come back to Vrindavan. And those feet which are being meditated on by so many, we desire to play with them directly. What to speak of holding them within our brains in meditation, we desire to hold them close to us. Meditation will not satisfy us, so we won't do it. They desire to receive the touch of his feet while they are decorating him, and then they will also receive the touch of his hands. And in the end they will receive the benediction of being embraced between his two strong arms. Krishna will be touching their feet also, when they exhibit man, jealous anger, and he is trying to appease them. Then everything is reversed, and Lakshmi also desires all of this. So in this verse, when Krishna says, Bhaiya, my dear brother, today the earth has become glorious, he is simply using the presence of Baldev Prabhu as a pretext so that the sweetness of Krishna himself, the sweetness of the gopis, and the glories of Vrindavan can all be specifically described. And why has Vrindavan become glorious? Because in that place the grass and creepers received the touch of Krishna's feet, its vines and trees received the touch of his hands, and its rivers, mountains, birds, and animals received his affectionate glances. But above all, Vrindavan is especially glorious because of the presence of the gopis, whom Krishna himself serves. Chapter 2. The peacocks dance to Krishna flute melody. After preparing lunch for Krishna Chandra and Baldeva, Yashoda along with Nanda Baba follows them for a great distance as they take the cows out to graze for the day. Finally, after bidding them farewell for the day, they return home. After cooking for Krishna, Srimati Radhika and her Sakhis return to Yavat. As Radhika Sakhis sit near her, each of them in their own specific parties as Tatastha, neutral, Swapaksh belonging to Radhika's own group, and Suhrid, friendly, they all begin to meditate on Krishna. They become deeply spellbound, and when he sometimes appears to their internal vision, they become enthralled in Virharasa. Seeing how Radhika is especially immersed in Virharasa and oblivious to all external considerations, the Sakhis call out to her and bring even more remembrance of Krishna pastimes to her by speaking this verse. Vrindavanam Sakhi Bhuvo Vitnoti Kirtin Yad Devki Dambujlakshmi Venum Anu Mayurinrityam Prekshyadrisan Vavartanya. Srimad Bhag 10.21.10 and Brihad Bhag 2 July 108. O Sakhi Radhe! Vrindavan is more glorious than heaven, Vaikuntha, and even more glorious than Ayodhya and Dwarkapuri because it has been graced with the footprints of Devki. And only in this Vrindavan are the peacocks dancing in rhythm to the flute melody of Govinda. Hearing the sound of the flute and seeing the peacocks dancing, all of the birds, animals, and other living entities have become stunned. Here Devki refers to the other name of Yashoda. So in this verse Devki means Yashoda Krishna and his footprints are beautifying Vrindavan. When Akrur and later Uddhava went to Nandagram, they saw these footprints everywhere. Seeing them, Akrur fell down to offer pranam and rolled on the ground, and crying profusely said, "Today I am so fortunate to have the darshan of Krishna lotus feet." Playing very deep notes on the flute, Govinda enters the forest near Govardhana. Immediately all the peacocks approach him making the keka sound, and they see that he appears like a dark rain cloud. Because he uses the end holes of the flute to produce very deep notes, his playing of the flute is like thunder, and his yellow cloth is like lightning. The peacocks become maddened, and forming a circle around Krishna, they begin dancing with great bhav to the flute melody. Hearing the sound of the flute, all sattva, meaning living entities, become stunned and abandon their usual course of activities. Animals such as tigers and bears even abandon their violent natures. Sattva can also mean that everything in the spiritual world is Vishuddha, comprised of pure spiritual energy. There is not a touch of mundane sattva, rajas, or tamasa in that realm. There are so many objects in Vaikuntha, and they are all Vishuddha. Especially it is known as the essence of the Hladini and Samvit potencies combined, which is found in the hearts of the eternal Ragatmika devotees there. If greed arises in the heart of a Jeev for the sentiment of those devotees, and he performs bhajana following in their footsteps, then when even one molecule of their devotion reflects into his heart, it can be called sattva. There are three kinds of sattva, Vishuddha, sattva, and Mishra. Mishra means mixed. Mishra exists within the conditioned souls, sattva within the liberated souls who have not yet developed bhakti, and Vishuddha within the Dham and Bhagwan eternal associates. Here, with some jealous anger, the gopis are revealing the feelings of their hearts. All of the animals, birds, insects, and everything of Vrindavan has become fortunate. In an independent way Krishna is bestowing his touch on everyone and everything in Vrindavan. When he climbs the hills his feet are placed here and there, and even the trees and flowers are receiving his touch. But there is no possibility of us receiving this benediction, and therefore in Vrindavan we are the most unfortunate people. As we mentioned before, there are thorns in Vrindavan also, but before Krishna steps on them they become softer than butter. Experiencing the touch of his feet, they melt in divine bliss. With jealous anger the gopis are saying, as of yet our hearts have not become similarly melted in Krishna. Therefore if we could become thorns or blades of grass in Vrindavan, our lives would then become successful. For us there are so many obstacles. We are not able to go before him and touch his feet and speak with him. We are not able to fan him or serve him in any way during the daytime. There are so many restrictions upon us, but there are no such restrictions whatsoever for all of the other living entities in Vrindavan. If we were to become blades of grass, or thorns, or vines, or ponds, or the dust of Vrindavan, we could receive his touch, but in this form it is not possible. Here, in expressing their jealous anger, they are describing the good fortune of the land of Vrindavan. They go on to say that Bhagwan is also present in heaven in the form of Vaman, in a form with thousands of heads, and in other forms also. Although he is also present in these forms, they are partial forms. All incarnations are not equal. Those incarnations which possess more of Bhagwan qualities, potencies, and rasa are superior. Krishna, Ram, and Nrsimha possess more of these in comparison to other incarnations, and are therefore known as Parvasthavataras. But of these three, Krishna is Avatari, the source of all incarnations, and the very basis of all rasa, raso vaisa. So because he is sporting there, Vrindavan is the most glorious place. In his commentary on this verse, Sanatan Goswami says that Krishna played Mridu on the flute. What is the meaning of Mridu? When rain clouds begin to gather, the sky at once becomes dark, and very softly and slowly thunder comes. When the clouds clash violently, it produces loud thunder and lightning also, but at first they produce a very soft and deep thunder, and that is called Mandara. Krishna produced a similar sound on the flute, but with mridu sweetness. The nature of the peacock is such that when it sees the sky darkening and hears thunder, it begins dancing madly. When Krishna entered the forest, what did he see? Giriraj Govardhana resplendent with creepers, blooming flowers, and ripe fruits. The breeze was blowing very gently, seemingly unable to carry the full weight of the flower's fragrance. Seeing this natural splendor, the desire for enjoyment arose in Krishna, and he played the flute very softly. Hearing this deep vibration, the peacocks went mad, dancing in rhythm with their tail feathers fully spread out. Then all of the animals, birds, and insects of Vrindavan congregated in the meadows of Govardhana to witness the performance. The peacocks thought, he is playing such a beautiful melody, and dancing to that we are feeling great anand, but we have nothing to offer him in return. After professional actors enact some of Bhagwan pastimes, they place a murti of Krishna or Ramchandra on a plate and approach the audience for contributions. Seeing that others have placed some money on the plate, everyone feels obliged to give something. There is some intimidation or psychology used in this method. But when someone wants to give of their own free will because they genuinely appreciated a performance, they will reach in their pocket, and no matter what note they first pull out, whether it is 2 rupees, 5 rupees, or 10 rupees, they will give it immediately. So one of these peacocks was thinking, I have nothing valuable to offer him, no golden necklace around my neck or any valuable ornaments. I am simply an animal, but the feathers of my tail are very valuable. There is nothing in this world which can compare to their beauty, and upon seeing them everyone becomes pleased. With their 7 colors they are so attractive, so is there any reason why I shouldn't offer him one? Therefore he left behind one of his feathers. Seeing it, Krishna thought, this peacock is very loving. He has fully appreciated my flute playing and offered me one of his valuable feathers. There is nothing artificial in this offering. Lifting the feather up and placing it on his head, he thought, just as the flute is dear to me, this peacock feather has now become dear to me. While walking, resting, dreaming, standing, or sitting, I will never abandon it. Wherever I may go in Vraja, I will never abandon the flute or this peacock feather. This is the origin of the peacock feather becoming Krishna's most celebrated ornament. The peacock saw, oh, I left that feather for him, but he didn't merely put it in his pocket. He has placed it on his head, the most valuable of all his bodily parts. Today my life has become completely successful. If we desire to offer a gift to our Guru, to the Vaishnav, or to Bhagwan, but upon receiving it they were to say, "What need do I have for this? I have millions of good quality things," we would feel pain in our hearts. But instead they accept it and say, "Oh, what a beautiful thing you have brought me," and then we feel very pleased. Similarly, Sudama Vipra brought Krishna some uncooked low-grade rice, and honoring his offering Krishna snatched it from him saying, "Oh, such a nice snack you have brought me." And even though it was uncooked, dry, and tasteless, he immediately chewed it up and said, "Rukmini and Satyabhama have never offered me anything this nice." Hearing this, how did Sudama Vipra feel? "Today I have become fully gratified." So the peacock saw that he had offered Krishna such a trivial gift, yet Krishna had taken it and placed it on his head. Then Krishna played the flute with so much prema that he became maddened along with the peacocks. Before in this verse, Anumatta referred to the peacocks becoming intoxicated, but it can refer to Krishna as well. Then he played the flute with even more prema, and the peacocks became more maddened, Krishna also became more maddened, and in this way there was competition between them. If someone offers something with prema, and it is also accepted with prema, then both parties become the tasters of that prema, and that is precisely what happened here. While Krishna was playing the flute in this way, and the dancing was going on, all of the sattva, meaning the birds and animals, became motionless and watched and listened. But don't consider them to be like the birds and animals of this world. The birds and animals of Goloka are all Vishuddha, and there is no trace of Tamasa, Rajasa, or material sattva in them. Even when the Jeev becomes very elevated, perhaps just before liberation, still there is some trace of material sattva in him. But in this world most people are tamasic, which means they are affected by lower attributes such as hatred, envy, anger, and the cheating propensity. Then there is Rajasa, which is characterized by intense greed for enjoyment. So even when sattva comes, at first it will be mixed with Tamasa and Rajasa. In the case of Hariskandra Maharaj, he gave away a great amount in charity, which is sattvic, but it was mixed with Rajasa. Karn was very charitable, always spoke the truth, and did good to others, which are all sattvic qualities, but he was affected by anger, envy, and the tendency towards violence, so it was mixed with Tamasa. Bharatha Maharaj showed affection for an animal, which was sattvic, but still it was not Shuddha. Only after the Jeev attains Swarup and will imminently enter into Vastusiddhi can it be said that he is in Vishuddha. Bhagwan and all of his devotees in Vaikuntha, whether they are peacocks or monkeys or whatever, are situated in Vishuddha. In order to watch Krishna playing the flute and see the dancing of the peacocks, many other birds gathered in groups on the branches of the trees of Govardhana. Below in the forest the deer were also watching, but with their eyes closed, as if in meditation. How could they be watching if their eyes were closed? By sanchari, which means that they were internally experiencing the particular sthayi bhav or permanent sentiment that they were situated in. There were a great many species of birds and animals watching from the meadows of Govardhana, and they all displayed the natures of Munis. Venum Anu Mayuranrityam, the name Govinda comes from the words Go and Inde. Go means the Gopas, Gopis, cows, and calves. It can also mean Veda, Brahman, Gyan, the senses, and many other things. Indate means Indra, which means master. So Govinda means the one who increases the anand of everyone in Vraja by the notes he plays on the flute. Hearing this divine sound, all living entities forget their normal course of activities. At this time of the day, The birds generally make different sounds in their chirping such as checha and kalarva, but all of these activities stop, and everyone forgets even their own bodies. This is the meaning of avartanya. In this way everyone stands motionless just listening and watching thinking, Aho. This can only be found in Vrindavan. Bhagwan is also present in Vaikuntha, but there the sound of the flute cannot be heard. In Ayodhya and Dwarka one won't see peacocks dancing like this. This can only be found in Vrindavan and nowhere else. Vitanoti means that Vrindavan is more glorious than heaven or even Vaikuntha. There Krishna exhibits four special qualities, Roop Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, Leela Madhuri, and Madhuri, the especially sweet love which his companions in Vraja have for him. Because Govinda is playing the flute there, the splendor and glories of Vrindavan are being proclaimed as the best of all. How did Krishna appear to the peacocks as he was playing the flute? He had the peacock feather placed in his crown, and he was standing in his threefold bending posture with his right foot wrapped around his left. Seeing this, at once the anand of the peacocks increased. Krishna was adorned with a gunjmala which also included kadamba flowers and tulsi manjaris which hung down to his knees. A mild fragrance was coming from it, and bees were swarming around it. He was wearing bracelets on his wrists, and on his limbs were paintings of spiders. In this way Nandanandana was decorated in his forest attire, and he was holding the flute, which has been called his dear Sakhi, in his hands. He will never abandon it, it always remains with him. Sometimes for increasing the waves of Leela and for the pleasure of the gopis, he enters a kunj and falls asleep. Knowingly he allows the flute to hang loosely in his hand, he is not really sleeping. And seeing him from a hidden position and thinking that he is sleeping, the gopis say, now we should take the flute. Then Radhika says to the other gopis, who is prepared to do it? If he awakens he will grab you. Then everyone becomes afraid. In pretending to be asleep, Krishna certainly has some special intention. If there is any person who can take the flute, it is Radhika. All the gopis propose that she do it, and she agrees. Smiling and watching him very carefully, she approaches stealthily like a cat. Standing over him, she looks carefully to see if he is really sleeping, then she snatches the flute and quickly exits the kunj. Then Kundalta comes and scolds Krishna, your everything is gone, and you are sleeping. Getting up and looking around, Krishna says, hey, where has my flute gone? Very perturbed he says, who took it? Did you see who took it? Then he approaches the gopis, and as if he knows nothing, says, have you seen my flute? In this way he knowingly allows the flute to be taken in order to taste some special rasa, otherwise he would never abandon it. In the Samhita it says that the flute is his Priya Sakhi. The vibration of this flute can melt anything, even rugged mountains, and it is also capable of entering devotees' bodies and stealing their hearts. If the flute were not there, then so much of his Leela and Vilas would be meaningless, such is the importance of the flute. Being held to his lips it drinks the rasa there and becomes intoxicated, inspiring the gopis to say in the Venugeet, this inanimate stick of bamboo is relishing that which is our property, the nectar of your lips. In the verse we are explaining here, the name Devki has been used. Once, Devki, Dwarkadhish, went to the heavenly planets. Vrajendranandana Krishna didn't go there. Dwarkadhish went there to acquire the Parijat flower to appease the heart of Satyabhama, and approaching Indra, he said, Bhaiya, you are always very affectionate towards me, therefore please give me one Parijat flower. When Indra refused to give him even one flower, Krishna uprooted the entire tree and sitting along with Satyabhama on the back of Garud, prepared to leave there. Indra and the demigods tried to stop him, and after defeating them he returned to Dwarka and planted the beautiful Parijat tree in Satyabhama garden. This was Devki, Dwarkadhish Krishna, who bestowed the touch of his feet on the heavenly planets, but there you won't find peacocks dancing. He doesn't play the flute there. If there is anything to be found in his hands there, it will be the conch shell and disc. He didn't play the flute there or exhibit the four special aspects of sweetness which are found only in Vrindavan. Therefore the fame of Vraja is greater than that of the heavenly planets, Vaikuntha or Dwarka. In Vaikuntha, Lakshmi receives the touch of Narayan feet. Narayan is an extension of Krishna who possesses all six opulences, but the four kinds of Madhuri are not present in Vaikuntha. There you won't find the peacocks dancing to the melody of the flute. Therefore when the word Devki is used in this verse, we can understand it to be another name for Yashoda, because it is Vrindavan Krishna or Govinda who played the flute. And when he played the flute, all living entities forgot their normal course of activities and stood silently and motionless, listening. How did the gopis hear the flute and witness the dancing of the peacocks? Sitting in their homes, they heard and saw it all in meditation. They said, "Look! The peacocks are descending to the meadow to dance to the melody of Krishna flute, but can we go there? We also desire to sing and dance with him, but there are so many restrictions upon us. Our elders are watching over us, so it is not possible for us. Therefore we are greatly unfortunate." Chapter 3. The best servant of Hari. In the next verse the gopis glorify Govardhana hill, which is not only the crown of Vrindavan but the crown of the entire universe. Hantayam agrir abla das Ramakrishna charan sparsha pramoda mana tanoti ganyostaiya yat paniya suvaskandamula hai. Srimad Bhag 10.21.18 and Brihad Bhag 2 July 109. This Govardhana hill is the best of all those who are known as Das because he is feeling great jubilation from the touch of the lotus feet of Krishna and Balram. With great respect Govardhana is worshipping them by providing all their necessities such as caves, fruits, flowers, and water for their pleasure and for the pleasure of their cowherd friends, cows, and calves. Vrindavan is glorious because there Krishna is playing the flute in the meadows of Govardhana and the peacocks are dancing and becoming stunned, all of the birds and animals are listening and watching. The gopis say Hantayam, which means they are expressing their feelings of sorrow, yet there is so much Anand in it. They are disappointed because they cannot have the darshan of Krishna and externally join in the festivities, yet they are feeling increasing Anand as they experience it all internally within their meditation. We are abla, devoid of strength. Why? The female deer go near Krishna with their husbands following behind them, and there is nothing in this world to restrict them. But for us, everyone is an obstacle, our husbands, mothers-in-law, fathers-in-law, brothers, and friends. And what is the greatest obstacle of all? The restrictions which exist in our own minds, are fear of being disgraced in society. Therefore we are abla. Prema Bhakti is something which is anugatya, without the mercy of the Guru it can never be attained. Shri Charan Keval Bhakti Sadma Bando Mui Savdhan Mate. 14. The lotus feet of the Guru are the Sadma, the shelter, for that Shri, the Prema Bhakti for Krishna, which exists in the heart of that Guru. This is its source. If one does not have devotion for the Guru, does not serve him, and is not surrendered to him in all respects, then bhakti will never come. Unless one attains his mercy, one will never experience bhakti and will never receive the darshan of Krishna. Therefore here the gopis are saying, Sakhi, For a long time we have been desiring to meet with Krishna, but our feet are unable to go there, our eyes are unable to see him, and our hands are unable to touch him. In our helpless condition, we cannot attain his darshan. The birds and the deer and everyone else is allowed to receive his touch and serve him, but we are not. However, nearby is Giriraj, who is Das, the best of those who are Das, and he is Guru Tattva. If we surrender to him, if we go to him, and offer puja to him and serve him, then certainly we will receive the good opportunity to serve Krishna. This is the nature of Guru. Sakshad Shastrair Uktas Tatha Bhavyat Eva Sadbhyah Kintu Prabhor Yah Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guroh Shri Charnarvindam. Shri Gurvashtakam Sat. The Guru is the one who is especially dear to Krishna. All jivas are dear to him, yet by serving and receiving the mercy of such a Guru who can actually overpower Krishna by prema, we can meet him, otherwise we can't meet him. All devotees performing parikrama of Govardhana should visit the Mandira of Haridev. If one performs the entire Govardhana parikrama without first taking darshan of Haridev, then he will not receive the full benefit of his parikrama. So the gopis are saying, on the pretext of bathing in Mansi Ganga, we will first take darshan of Haridev, and then we will go to Giriraj Govardhana where the desires of our hearts will be completely fulfilled. Our desires will be completely fulfilled because somewhere on top of Govardhana, Krishna is taking the cows to graze and playing with his friends. There we will be able to receive his darshan, to receive his touch, and to freely mix with him. This is the main objective of our lives. This should also be the main objective of our lives. Meeting Krishna and attaining Krishna service, solely for this purpose we are practicing sadhan. Ultimately the sadhan and sadhya, goal of bhakti are one and the same. For instance, there is Shravanam, what will we hear? Bhagavad Tattva, and especially Maya, we must understand well, that which we are seeing now and which we are attached to due to our selfishness will only bring us unhappiness. Until we surrender to the feet of the Guru and follow the sadhan which he prescribes, we are just following the advice given to us by our own minds. When we take exclusive shelter of the Guru, he will save us from our own independence. Then we should empty our hearts completely and accept Guruji order and act accordingly. We must make our hearts one with Guru and the Vaishnavas, and one with our previous acharyas like Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Shri Bhaktisiddhant Saraswati Prabhupada. If we keep our hearts separate from them, then Maya will certainly snatch us. If we don't surrender our independence to them, then we will only act according to our own desire. We should depend solely on them. As they instruct me, I will do. I will apply all of my intelligence to carrying out their orders. Then we will be successful. Otherwise bhakti, which is chinmay and has its own independent nature, will not come easily. Therefore here the gopis are saying, by thousands of our own efforts we will never overcome the obstacles which prevent us from meeting Krishna, such as fear of our elders and adherence to the regulations of Varnashram. They will only be overcome when we attain the mercy of Giriraj. And those of us in the stage of sadhan should never leave the company of that Vaishnav who is actually qualified to be followed. So many distractions may come, but we should never leave him. This is instruction number 1. According to his desire we will move, and then we will surely progress upwards in the kingdom of bhajana. But if we listen instead to the dictates of our minds, we will descend into rasatal. What kind of things does the mind tell us? Look, take good care of your body. Remain comfortable, and endeavor only for that happiness which is easily obtained. And following these instructions we will become trapped in the reactions to our enjoyment and suffer. Therefore instead we should honor the instructions of Guru, the Vaishnav, and the Shastrat like the gopis are saying in this verse, we are abla, we have no vitality in our association with sadhus. If we are living in a temple but we never speak to anyone, and we don't have love for both the Guru and other Vaishnavas, then what will happen? We will become isolated and discouraged. Lovingly we should speak with them, ask questions, attentively listen to the answers, and have a mood of mutually offering and accepting with them in all respects. Without them, we are abla, we have no spiritual strength. Prachinana bhajanamatul dushkaran srinvatomi nairasyen jvalti hridyan leshalsasya. Mala. How did previous great personalities obtain their most cherished objectives? For 60,000 years, Kashyap Rishi and Aditi stood on their hands and went without eating, drinking, and even breathing. After performing such severe austerities, Narayan appeared and offered them a boon. Kashyap Rishi said, we desire a son like you, we desire a son like you, we desire a son like you. Narayan replied, where will you get a son like me? Therefore I myself will come as your son. And because he had asked 3 times, Narayan became their son in 3 separate births. We can see what severe austerities Hiranyakshipu performed to obtain only material things. For acquiring his own planet, Dhruva Maharaj performed very severe austerities.